factor the trinomial x squared minus 5x minus 14. All right, so whenever you're working with a factoring problem, dealing with polynomials, you should always factor out the greatest common factor. And in this case, the greatest common factor is 1. And for those that don't know what the greatest common factor stands for, it's the number or the expression, more like a better way of saying it, that divides all of these terms. So what's the largest expression that divides out x squared minus 5x and minus 14? And the only thing that would do that is 1. Just as a quick example here, if I had 3x to the 4th minus 6x squared plus 3x, the greatest common factor would be 3x, because 3 divides everything, first of all, in terms of the numbers, and then x is a term that each of these has, so that's why the greatest common factor would be 3x. Okay, and then when we factor out the greatest common factor, what you do is you write the greatest common factor out here, and then inside you would have a parentheses, and you write out what you have left. In this case, I would have an x to the third, and a 2x, and just a 1, the last part. And that has to do with, the way we get those values is by taking each of the terms, 3x to the 4th minus 6x squared and 3x, and dividing them by 3x, and this is what you get. Okay, so that's how you get that. So just as an example, in this case though, there is just 1. And because that's the case, we don't have to worry about doing anything here, but make sure you always complete that step first. All right, so once you've done that, you're going to have a trinomial like we do here, x squared minus 5x minus 14, and we're going to find two numbers that add to the coefficient of x and multiply to give you the constant term is what I meant here. So in our case, multiply to give you the coefficient of x, which is minus 5, and add to give you the coefficient of x, which is minus 5, and multiply to give you the constant term, which is minus 14. So looking for two numbers that add to give you negative 5 and multiply to give you negative 14. And the best way to find out which numbers would work would be to list out the factors of the minus 14, the constant term. So in this case, this would be, 1 and 14, 7 and 2, 14 and 1, and 2 and 7. And the reason I'm writing these twice is because I can have minus 1 and 14, I could have 7 and minus 2, I could have minus 14 and 1, and I can also have 2 and minus 7. Okay, so these are all the possibilities. And in our case, 2 and negative 7 work. Okay. And for the last step here is to basically form these two binomials, which are made up of the numbers you found, x plus 2 times x minus 7. Okay. And that's how that trinomial x squared minus 5x minus 14 would factor out. Okay, so you just find those, once you found those two numbers, you just say x plus whatever those numbers, or x minus if it's negative, and multiply them together. Easy as that. Now, if you had something along the lines of 3x squared minus 7x plus 4, and I ask you to do the same thing, try to factor it as a product of two binomials, this would be a different process here. There's the greatest common factor here is 1, but the coefficient that you have here is not 1, and there's a different procedure for that. And there's another video that I have made linked to a worksheet, which, if you don't have access to that worksheet, no problem. There's a link to it on our webpage. Just look for Factoring Trinomials Part 2. All right, thank you very much.